Hey, welcome to Overtime, where we take Sunday's message further. My name is Jeremy, and I'm your host. And this is a podcast where we just want to ask the questions that we think that you would ask as it relates to Sunday's message. And as we do so, we hope that it helps you grow in your life and your faith. With that being said, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date on all of the podcasts that are coming out. Not only that, hit the like button, because when you do so, it helps us help other people. And if you ever have a question about Sunday's content or about Overtime, you can submit those to overtime@npaustin.com, and we will be sure to get to those in future podcasts. So with that being said, here's a quick recap of Sunday, and then we're going to jump into our conversation today. Well, we are here for the first Overtime podcast in 2022.
2022, baby.
Yep, we're ringing in the new year,
Yep.
and we're doing a little bit of a bonus episode to kick things off because we've been off church to say thank you to our volunteers and our staff. And so we're actually kicking off a new series this Sunday, January 9th. But until then, we didn't want to miss a beat in Overtime. And so our bonus episode is something a little unique in that we're actually just going to ask Buck 22 questions.
Thank you. That's exciting.
Some are serious.
Yeah.
Some are not serious.
Yes.
And you only know some of them.
I only know like a handful, so
Yeah.
a little nervous.
I did come up with some of these too.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah, so
Yeah, this will be fun. New year, new questions, new approach. Maybe you'll learn something new about,
you.
yeah.
That was bad.
Yeah, I know. That was kind of weird. Learn something new about me, buddy.
Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of odd. Yeah, I'm not going to go with that one.
You ready?
Are we jumping in right now?
Yeah, we're going.
Okay. Yeah, let's do this.
Well, this first one's kind of an emotional one, so I wanted you to be
gosh.
prepared.
All right.
Okay, so it's, what would it take for you to change your hairstyle? Is there anything at all?
Gosh. Yeah, I mean, so, yeah.
Like
yeah.
anything at all that would
Jill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is we just have to convince
100%. Yeah, because just the other day, I'm telling you, she looked at me and she said, "Babe, your hair looks so sexy." And I was like, yeah, this is why I do it.
That just bought like another decade of doing your hair like
yes. I know. I went and bought some more hairspray. It was awesome.
that. Oh my gosh. This is good. Okay, well, I'm going to go directly to Jill from now on.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
All right, good. Okay, so what's the lowest round of golf you've ever shot?
65.
65.
Mm-hmm. 7 under.
Now, for somebody, not me, but maybe somebody listening who isn't as familiar with golf, what is, give us some frame of reference.
So, like, I don't know. 65 is a really, really good score. In the professional ranks, it's okay.
It's a decent score.
Yeah, like if you're playing pro golf, it's like most pro golfers have shot low rounds like that. Somebody who plays like at the country club or plays at the golf course and they play a lot of golf and you're like, man, they're a good golfer. Like 65 is like, oh my gosh, that would be
insane.
a miracle round.
What are those guys golfing?
Like 70s.
70s.
So
okay.
like their career round, or oh my gosh, they may shoot 70, like 2 under par, or 71 or something like that. So
and 72 would be par.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
Yeah, 72 is essentially they're saying, hey, you played a perfect round of golf. You hit every fairway, every green, made the putts, the whole thing. Like we think this course and the length and all the holes, 72 shots.
Man,
so
that's awesome.
Yeah.
When did you do that?
Freshman year of
College.
Yeah, my senior year of high school, my lowest tournament round was 68.
Okay.
So that was in Waco.
That's pretty exciting as a senior in high school.
Yeah, it was fun because it was like, I'm walking around the course and, with the teammates, we're all like, hey, how are you doing? And we all like give our signals like, hey, I'm 2 over, I'm 5 over, 7 over. And I was able to go like, I'm 5 under par.
Dang.
And, it was fun.
They all go nuts.
Yeah, it was fun. Yeah, and then I bogeyed one of the holes coming in. It's a weird because like if you're playing a game and you're like getting close to high score, there's an added pressure to that.
Oh,
like
yeah.
all of a sudden, like your palms start sweating a little. You just feel it, and so that was the lowest I've ever been in a tournament up until that point. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm feeling it. And just how do you handle success when you're in a place of success you've never been?
Yeah.
So.
That's good. Yeah. I like that. Okay, next one. Do you have any tattoos? And I know the answer.
Oh, I wonder where this question came from.
I actually think Jordan came up with this one. So.
Oh, he did? Yeah. So, yes, I do. When I was, 20-ish, my buddy and I were sitting in his apartment after a round of golf. We drank entirely too much, and we were like, man, we should get tattoos. And then I don't know who came up with it, but he was like, we should get matching tattoos. And when it's like 1 a.m, you've drank too much, that seems like a good idea. It's like, yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
And I was like, what are we going to get? And of course, we're both golfers, and we saw his pillow on his couch, and it's like something his mom gave him. So it's like this fabric you can buy at Hobby Lobby or something with a golf bag and, some
like
golf
golfer.
gloves.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we both went and got tattoos, and I think it was past the time when you're legally able to get tattoos, and we totally were not coherent enough for the guy. Like, he didn't give us any test.
Yeah.
He was.
Are they sitting there supposed to?
I think so. I think so. I don't know. Julie, do you know?
I don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
That would make sense if you like. That seems like it would save a lot of people.
Yeah, because it's fairly permanent.
Yeah. It is. I do know one person who's gotten it removed, and they said it was awful.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. What's the worst gift you ever bought Jill?
Oh gosh. Oh, I don't know. Yeah. I really don't know. Maybe a cleaning product. I'm sure it's like.
You brought her a cleaning product?
Well, I think I bought her the Robo vacuum or the.
Oh, the one that does it. It's on its own.
Yeah, but that's not like that's actually like.
That's like to save. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard because I really I think through. I try to think through like the things, like I get her, and I don't get her a lot of gifts. Like I'll get her like corny things, but like the gifts I get her, like typically are like, or they're just more thought through. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I haven't. Well, or she's a great actress. Yeah. I don't know which one. Yeah. But and she perhaps has gotten many gifts, and she's like, oh my gosh, this is terrible.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh babe, thank you so much.
Yeah.
So who knows?
All right. Well, cleaning product.
Maybe.
All right. Okay. I want to switch to something a little more serious.
Okay.
What were the main reasons you made the career switch to being a pastor? You've shared pieces of this, but I'm just curious to know.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy. And it's still my number one conviction today. There were way too many people who didn't go to church, which means way too many people didn't know who Christ was, which means way too many people haven't experienced the most incredible gift that God has ever given the human race. And I just wanted to be part of a story of changing that. And if God would allow me through his grace to be able to do that, I had strong conviction. So many buddies at Dell, so many buddies in the golf world that it just was unnecessary. Like, it's unnecessary for them not to make church a priority in their life. It was unnecessary for them not to know Jesus. And so, especially when you hear their stories, you're just like, that's just shouldn't be the way it is. And that shouldn't be the way of the church. And that shouldn't be the way a Christian, or that shouldn't be the way. And not that I had it all together, but that was my biggest conviction. I really want people to experience a God who loves them, and to experience an identity, to experience forgiveness, to experience freedom, to experience being fully alive the way God designed us to be, to experience security in a way that they've never experienced it before. To experience joy and happiness, not because of a product, not because of an experience, like, hey, I went and had this cool, but because of what God offers. And there is something that truly is a peace that transcends all understanding. Like, that's a really big reality if that could be true. It's true. And so I'm going like, man, I love people so much, and I really want them to experience that. So we have to start a different kind of church.
Yeah, yeah. Talking about your job specifically as a pastor, what would you say is the hardest thing about your job?
Ooh, I think from a practical perspective, teaching. I'm writing a book every day.
Yeah.
Or every week.
Yeah.
And if people don't like it, they're like, oh, it's not good enough. Oh, and it's all fair. I'm not knocking that. But like trying to come up with something creative, trying to, think about, how do I say this? How do I not say this? I'm constantly inviting God. I'm like, God, And so that is hard. That's like writing a book every week and having a final every week. And I'm judged every week by, what I say and don't say. So I think that's the hardest practical piece. I think the hardest emotional piece is And this could be like wah, but it's true, is I think the gossip piece of the church. There's been a lot of things that I know to be true behind the scenes, and I know the conversations in my office, and I know how they were led. And I think that piece is just like, it's so much energy, and it's hurtful. It's just hurtful, and it's unnecessary. And I think people experience this all the time when people are like, why didn't you just come talk to me? Mm-hmm. Why didn't you just come directly to me? Like, why'd you got to tell that on social media, or tell that to your 10 neighbors, or tell that to, all these people? And now, people are confused about me and my family, and confused about Northpoint, and confused, like, why? Mm-hmm. And that's just hurtful. And that's a really hard piece of my job to go, I work really hard, and at times I'm like, if that's my motivation to get people to like me and people to do, I would have left a long time ago.
Yeah.
But, my motivation's not that. So,
yeah.
But that's probably a really hard piece.
Yeah, I can see that. On the flip side, what's your favorite thing about your job?
Favorite thing, hands down, life change. Life change. Like, I get to witness it. And I say this on Sunday sometimes. I'm like, I get a front row seat to see somebody whose marriage was like in this state, to see somebody who thought this about the church or Jesus, or to see somebody who had lost hope or lost purpose. And, to see, like, I get to see the parts start to form, the ingredients start to be baked, and it's like all these things, and I get a front row seat to that. And then it's like those moments where it's like, oh my gosh, like when you talked about that freedom, or you talked about that security, or, when I read this, where Jesus, and it's like I get to see that moment of like, breathing, that moment of like life. It's like Jesus said, you must be reborn, and it's a spiritual rebirth, not a physical, but so like the reborn process. It's, I mean, if you've witnessed birth now, and so it's magic. It's God. I get to be part of this. Thank you. And my favorite part of my job is the next gen. I love them. I love like, all these teenagers and all these, young dudes and young, chiquitas. Gals. Yeah. I always get that wrong, but, I love that, seeing them lead, seeing them teach, seeing them in roles long before they're ready, seeing them step up. It's so rewarding. So rewarding.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. One of the things, as I have grown up here at Northpoint, and this is switching us back to a little bit more of a lighthearted question.
Oh, sure.
We're going to bounce back and forth and just see how it goes. One of the things I've experienced, though, on the other side of you, is you are a technology guy. Mm-hmm. And so, I've personally enjoyed it because I am as well. Mm-hmm. And my job specifically requires a pretty efficient set of tools to get it done. So in terms of video editing and creation and all that stuff. And so, but there's a rumor that you're a technology poser.
Oh, 100%.
I was going to say, is this true or false? But I guess
it's true.
It's true.
There it is. See, we're efficient with that one.
Why would you say 100%?
Oh, well, I mean, if you start asking me, like, well, how do you do this on your iPhone, or how do you do this on your iPad, or how do you do this, with this, these remote thing or whatever, I'm like, and, yeah, there's a lot of, well, especially being around you guys. I mean, you're like, command this thing, that, and I'm like, that is amazing. And so it reinforces the fact that going, I probably am talking a much better game than what's real.
Yeah. Well, what's funny is being next to you in a meeting and seeing you struggle on your iPad with something, and then I just hear you go, Tim Cook. So one of the questions on here is, how do you think Tim Cook is doing in Steve's absence?
Oh.
And for context, for those of people listening and don't know, Tim Cook is the CEO of Apple, took over after Steve Jobs passed away.
Well, when Steve left, he was like that, he was that visionary, that, that catalyst that drove some of the most creative, some of the most innovative, some of the most, profound products ever to be created in an industry that have revolutionized the world. And Tim Cook, from what I know of him from a distance, I don't know Steve, I don't know Tim, so let me just qualify it with, this is left field comments that I really have no business making. Mm-hmm. But he's much more of an operator. And so, about, hey, about systems, about bottom lines, about P&Ls, about operations, about efficiencies, about processes. So it's like,
Not the same visionary.
Right. So all that's wonderful. You need that to be, you have to have certain components in an organization to really thrive and go to that place where, man, things are really cooking. And you need an operator. I mean, but you have to have your visionaries. So that was my big concern. So anytime something didn't work on an Apple product, I played the blame game, and I really enjoyed it. I kind of leaned into that.
Well, I think it got infused into our entire culture here on staff.
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden, like, Apple TV wouldn't connect to the TV
Tim
in
Cook.
the office, and we're like, oh, Tim Cook.
Yep.
Every single time.
I know.
Yep. Okay, moving on to the next question. If you were to write a book, what would it be about?
Leadership.
Leadership?
Mm-hmm.
Any specific aspect of leadership?
5 pillars of leadership.
5 pillars of leadership.
Yeah, I just think we did an exercise one time, and you were part. I think you were part of that.
I was there. Yeah.
We just went away and just got in a room with a bunch of sticky notes and whiteboards and just said, "The greatest leader of all time was Jesus, hands down." I mean, it's hard to even argue there's a better leader than him. And so changed the world in 3 years. And then we just said, let's make observations about his life. And I think we made 5 central observations. And I began to think about those and unpack those a little bit more and create some content around those. And so I think that, the 5 things we came up with, I think are, I'd love to write a book about it one day. I need you to teach more and lead more. And
you just need more time.
Yeah, because that's the other thing. That's what I alluded to earlier. I mean, every week, boom, Monday hits, and you're like, okay, here we go.
Yep.
Trying to take all the thoughts you've had about, part 2 or part 3 and put them down on paper and make them somewhat engaging.
Yeah. Well, the way I've equated to having done that process a handful of times over the years, not nearly as much as you. I mean, you've got, I don't know, 500 now, maybe.
I have no idea.
Yeah, but I would equate it to like writing a chapter of a book. Like every week you're writing a new chapter of a book, maybe a little bit more than a chapter too, because they do get pretty dense sometimes. Yeah. So if someone were to write a book about your life, what would the title be?
The Circle of Life.
The Circle. Can you expand? Is there a subtitle to help explain that? Or?
Yeah, the ups and downs. I just think the imperfections of a pastor. The real truth behind being a religious leader, or whatever somebody would call me. I just think to bring a little humanity to the pastoral role and bring the responsibility and authority that comes with that as well. I feel all of that and I accept that, but I think, I think the more people see my life, maybe it gives them hope. Earlier years of my life, when I've talked about being the lead pastor, and I've been in some pretty dark places as a lead pastor, and being able to express that in the book, and I've been able today as a 46-year-old man to feel more alive than I ever felt. And feel like I've got a long ways to go. There's not an arrival. It's a good place. It feels like, it's just like, you don't experience this the way I do, but when I eat cotton candy, I'm like, it's in a good place.
Yeah.
And so, like that moment for me, oftentimes with food, because I'm very emotionally connected and still working on why. But it's just that, gosh, like the other day I drove around with several of the boys, 4 of the boys in the car. And it was cold outside.
In your car?
In Jill's.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, wow, that's tight.
Yeah, in a Suburban. And so we had like Michael Bublé was playing his Christmas songs. It was cold outside. It was warm in the car. We just, I think had like a chocolate shake or something. And we were laughing. And I just caught myself in that moment and went, Buck, remind yourself of this moment. Like, capture this, breathe deep of this moment, because that's how life works. There's the good and the bad. And so I would say, in terms of chapters of my life, like as a 46-year-old man, I feel that far more times than I've ever felt it in my life.
Yeah.
If I could capture that moment with my sons and then put it to my life, I feel great about my life. And there's a lot of hard stuff that, there are ups and downs and parenting and all that. But so if I could capture that and give people hope and to go, man, God so desires,
Yeah.
for us to all become more and more life.
Circle of life.
Circle life.
All right. Speaking of life,
Yeah.
what do you want people to say about you at your funeral?
Oh, yes. Yes. I don't know. You know, I do think, hands down, like, that guy loved Jesus. I mean, that guy, his North Star was Jesus. I think, for sure, like, hey, here's what Buck did. Here's what he did good. Here's what he did bad. But I'm just telling you, above all, he loved Jesus. I think, here's what he did. Here's my memory. But, man, he loved his wife. He was faithful. He's been a faithful man to his wife. And, oh, you know, here's what he did. And, gosh, he loved it. He loved his sons. He was available for them and, you know, poured into a relationship with them. And I think if you know, if they said that, great. If I tagged one on and he was part of the team, part of, you know, the process that reversed the numbers in Greater Austin, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
You know, that said now 1.8 million people are not disengaged in church and questioning who Jesus is, but 1.8 million people are engaged in church and experiencing a love relationship, the reality of the greatest gift God's ever given to humanity in Jesus Christ. Like, he was part of that.
Yeah.
And so that'd be cool.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a like a life mission?
No.
Probably rephrase some of the things you just said, but I don't know if you had like a statement or anything like that.
No, I mean, so there's multiple times I've done like, hey, what's your purpose statement? You know, that kind of thing. And that's changed over the years. And, you know, it's morphed more into what God's called me to in terms of purpose. But I think the closest I get, and I share this sometimes, and specifically with men, like you're just not going to be known for all the stuff. So I said, you know, the legacy of a man is going to be how well he loved his wife and kids. That's it. So the one thing that you got to fight for, strive for, try to reconcile, invite God in like no tomorrow is, for me, is that.
Yeah. Yeah.
To go, everything else, and you know what I said earlier is just to love God with every ounce of who I am. That's where life is going to be found.
Yeah. Yeah. What's the most helpful thing for parenting that you've learned as a father?
I can't remember the guy, Joseph something.
Is this the guy that Brene quotes all the time?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That rocked my world, and it's experientially true. And I'm going to get it wrong, but you know, who you are teaches your son or daughter far more than what you say. So you must be what you want your son or daughter to be. And so for me, it was all about formulas. It was all about bedtimes and structures. It was all about rules, and it was all about, you know, outcomes. And if they do this, this is what's going to happen in their life. And they're struggling with this because they're not loving the Lord and reading the Bible enough, and that, you know, all that kind of stuff. And I think the greatest gift I could give my kids is the healthiest version of me. And above, I mean, all those things I'm not saying don't matter, so please don't read that into that. I'm just saying who I am is going to teach my sons far more than what I say.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think I've heard you say what you say or what you do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just got to be that. And so if they're like, man, I want them to be secure men. Well, I got to be a secure man. I want them to love Jesus. Well, you know, I got to discover what that is authentically, not religiously.
Yeah.
You know, I want them to, you know, respect and honor women. Okay, well, what do they see with Dad? I want them to love our neighbors and let no unwholesome talk come out of their mouth, but only what's helpful to build people up. Well, when the doors close and we're all together as a family, what do they hear me talk about? And how do I speak about our neighbors? How do I speak about our family? How do I speak about people? You know, it's like, okay, that's on me.
Yeah.
And so I think that's it's a paradox a little bit, but that's probably the greatest. There's tons of good stuff, but that's probably the one that sticks in my mind.
Yeah, for sure. There's no good way to transition back to the lighter-hearted questions, so I'm just going to do it.
There you go. See, that was a great transition.
Yeah, there you go. What did you do at Dell?
So I was an account executive, and that's just a fancy title for salesman.
Okay.
So
You did sales.
yeah, but I get kind of giddy about it because one of my accounts was GoDaddy, and this is when they came out their first provocative commercial. Behind the scenes, I was part of that whole. I didn't produce the commercial. I had no idea what the commercial was going to be.
Yeah,
I just knew the infrastructure required for the commercial and a heavy investment, and they were really betting on this commercial. And then when I finally saw it, I was like, oh my gosh, because I knew a lot of the guys behind the scenes. I'm not promoting or saying, hey, that was a great advertisement because it was fairly provocative, but but that was fun. And NASCAR was one of my accounts as well.
Oh,
and so,
wow, yeah.
That came with crazy perks.
Yeah,
and
I bet.
It was
That's
so
where
fun.
is that where you got your interest in NASCAR?
No, I got my interest in NASCAR when I was interested in Jill, and because her family's more country than mine, and so her brother was pretty country and her dad's pretty country, and so they love NASCAR, and that's probably not the proper thing to say and all that kind of stuff, but at the end of the day, and I was like, man, if I'm gonna get in good with Jill's family, I gotta like NASCAR.
Yeah,
and I was like. Initially, that's crazy. Who likes NASCAR? But when I went, ooh, and then little did I know, a few years later, I'd land at Dell, and then that would be my account. But that's how Jill and I have gotten pit passes, and as the cars are getting all when they come in for the pit crews, jump over the wall, we're there. We're walking around the drivers at Texas Motor Speedway, where all the drivers are. We're
cool.
walking right there next to them. It's just so cool.
That's fun.
Yeah, and none of that would have happened if...
That's got to be pretty loud there in the pit crew, right?
It's insane, but it's it riles my blood up.
Yeah. Let's go.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did you get into cars?
My sons.
Your sons.
That's it.
Having to get a bunch of cars for your sons.
Yeah. So previous to that, I got into cars because of finances. Because I'm like, how much is a brake job? I got to figure out how to do that.
Yeah.
So that's the initial catalyst for cars, and then once Sam got into the classic Mustang, that I was like, okay, and then man, I really enjoyed it. It was super therapeutic.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Some people are just wired in such a way that the idea of working on a car and therapeutic, I've had moments, but then there are moments where I'm like, this is the most stressful thing in the world, not knowing how to figure something out.
Yeah.
But
it's a love-hate relationship for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it's at the end of the day, you love it, but it's mixed. There are many. When I was rebuilding a transmission, I'd never done it, and I was like, Jill's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I bought this video for $33, and it's going to walk me through step by step. And it did. It was fantastic.
Wow.
But it's like one little BB in a part of the transmission doesn't allow it to shift properly, but the 400 other parts you got right. And that is where it's like, oh my gosh, I put it back together, put it on, and it goes forward, but it doesn't go backwards. So
gosh.
Why doesn't it go backwards? Well, the pressure in the lines and, this one little BB and this whole, it's that kind of stuff. And you're like, oh my gosh, so frustrating. But then you accomplish it and you're like, this is the most rewarding thing ever. It's awesome.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Yep. I replaced a window or a window motor in my car, but now it's really embarrassing when I go through the drive-thru because now when it goes down, it's good. But when it goes up, it's like, it's the worst sound in the world.
Yeah.
And I see people double take at me when they see me drive away from the drive-thru. Mm-hmm. Anyways, maybe we'll bring it by your house and you
sure.
can,
yeah, we check it out.
It's really not a big deal though.
Mm-hmm.
If you could create a new invention, what would you create?
A new invention?
Like permanent hairspray?
No. Something with efficiency. I don't know what it'd be. I'm like, Elon, he's already doing it. I heard him the other day say, public's going to demand no steering wheels. Well, that makes it very efficient. You can be more, your driving is efficient, wrecks are less, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
At least that's the hope. Yeah, I don't know. Something more efficient to do with efficiencies.
What is a pet peeve that you would make illegal if you could?
Legal?
Illegal.
Oh, illegal.
Nobody can ever do this. It's illegal.
Blame.
Yeah. It's a pet peeve.
Huge pet peeve.
Yeah.
It's a pet peeve because I've seen so much damage, unnecessarily so. And I get it, man. I play the game all the time. Mm-hmm. So I would go to jail.
Is there anything that people do, cracking their knuckles or anything like that?
Oh, the other thing for sure is chalkboards freak me out a little bit.
Like just their presence, like
Yeah, especially like, or gym bags that are made of vinyl stuff, or like jackets. Like Jill has some clothing material that's like vinyl kind of, I think I'm saying it right.
Oh.
Maybe it's kind of yeah. Julie, do you know what that would be called? Anyways, I'm probably saying it, but they're fabrics that like it just my fingernails go on fire, and all my nerves are like firing.
If somebody like scratches something, or just seeing the fabric, or
yeah. I had a gym bag one time I just couldn't pick up.
So how did you use the gym bag?
I had to abandon it, gave it away. I was like, hey, I just can't touch that anymore. It's weird. It's weird. Yeah, and I would also make seafood illegal.
Seafood, okay.
Yeah, but
okay.
see, that's bad because that hurts others and benefits me.
Yeah.
And I don't want to make it. But I do think blaming would benefit everybody, so I'd make that illegal.
Have you ever had like fresh seafood, like right out of the water?
Gosh. No. Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, yeah, I think, yeah. I think in earlier days, maybe, or if I have a glass of wine, maybe.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it just, and it's not, no one will figure it out. I'm sure, Denise can help me with this and, walk me through it. But at the end of the day, it's not logical. Yeah. It's not because of taste. It's not because, of it's bad. It's just there's something in my head that's communicating to my taste buds and all my other stuff that's like
this is not okay.
It's because I've had Jill and I won a trip to Puerto Rico when I was working at Dell, and we went there and we had the best lobster she's ever had. She said, and so she's like, "Try it," and I'm like, "Okay," and I tried it. And I'm like, "Dang, this is good," but like my fourth bite. Something like switched to my brain and said, "This is terrible food. Like, what are you doing?" And I had to spit it out. It was embarrassing.
Yeah, man, I would agree with you up until like a couple years ago. Mm-hmm. Something in me switched, and I just wanted to start trying things when we went places. Yeah. So like, have you seen Eurovision on Netflix with Will Ferrell? And,
oh yeah, that's funny.
So it's from Husavik, which is like a northern town in Iceland. Sure. And Ashley and I went through there, and I was like, well, I'm gonna try the fish, and so I got this like Arctic char. And it was phenomenal. It was amazing.
Really?
Yeah, it was so good.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, I wish I could have more of what you have.
I also tried reindeer. It's like really chewy.
Okay.
Anyways,
like licorice.
Yeah, I'm getting off topic. Okay. What if you rode next to any celebrity on an airplane, who would it be and what would you ask them?
Any celebrity.
Mm-hmm. I have an answer of what I think you would say.
So I think it would be Elon.
Oh, okay. That hit my brain. That wasn't the top one that I thought you'd say.
And I would ask Elon, why doesn't he believe in Jesus?
That's a pastor answer.
Totally, it is. But like that would be, I mean, that's what I think about all the time. So it's kind of par for the course. It's like, I'm always thinking about that. And I would want to learn. Like, I'm not asking it again for weird reasons. I would totally want to go like, Elon, what evidence? What stuff did you bump into? What is there? Like, who have you listened to? Yeah, I'd be so curious. And again, not to be like, you're wrong. And totally just to learn.
How did you not say Joe Rogan?
Oh.
That's what I thought you were going to say.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I would love to. I'd probably ask him.
Same thing.
Yeah, same question because I've heard him interview a lot of people, not everybody. So I'm sure there's probably interviews I haven't heard where he's talked about Jesus specifically, like, of all guys in history, like there's a lot of stuff about Jesus that is distinct. So like historically speaking, from an archaeological perspective, from a historical perspective, from, other religions and comparative works and all that kind of stuff, like I'd love to know because he's a really smart cat. So
yeah, he's pretty objective about some things.
Yeah, he's very objective. So, I again, asking to learn, not to be right.
Yeah. 3 more questions. Do you get nervous when you preach?
Yes.
Any other thoughts on it or just a yes?
Every time. Yeah, every time. I mean, there are different moments, but every time there's, I think our style that we've picked, if I had a podium in my notes, it'd be different. Mm-hmm. I think. And,
yeah, we've chosen a no notes format.
Yeah. So a lot of that. And, and I just know, I know I don't hang in the balance. Like, I'm not the one, but Paul makes this really clear. He says, man, I plant and I water, him and his fellow workers. But God grows, and I know that. So, but there is a really big sense of responsibility that I feel every time I step on stage to plant and water.
Yeah.
And to go like somebody sitting here, like I just met with a couple that we met, and he said the first time I walked into Northpoint, he said, all I want to do is prove you wrong. And he said, I sat there and I'm like, this is a bunch of BS. And whatever this preacher man is about to say, I'm just going to prove him wrong. Like in my head, I'm just going to prove him wrong. And so I think about that guy a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I think about him when I get up, when I talk, when I share my stories, when I unpack the Bible, and when I talk about the objections and, so.
Yeah.
Anyhow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely get nervous about that.
Yeah. What fills up your cup more than anything else?
Well, again, this is going to be totally pastor talk. Jesus. He does. There's nothing I can compare.
I think we're grateful to hear that, because if you were like hitting the bar, I think we'd be questions.
Las Vegas, I'm telling you. Yeah, hands down. I mean, just the other day I was getting ready. It came up on Saturday, getting ready for Sunday, and I was just not feeling great about me, and I wasn't feeling great about the message, and I just wasn't feeling great about a lot. And just opened my palms, invited Christ to meet me, and I'm just telling you, it was a radical shift of peace, radical shift of confidence. He met me, and it was like thousands of times I feel like that's the rhythm.
Yeah.
And there's nothing that satisfies like him. Nothing that is as consistent, nothing that sustains, nothing. So, I mean, that would be the most honest answer I could give, with a lot of examples of how he's done that. And I know if I'm listening to this, I'm like, of course that's what the pastor says, but it's true. And outside of that, I've said this before, but my kids.
Those moments with the boys, like you were saying.
Yeah, there's just something that is so, this is a weird phrase, and I'll preface it that way, but like sniffing my children. And, and I think every parent kind of
talked about that terminology
before.
You're
like, don't say that on stage. That's weird. And I know it's weird, but it's like those moments that,
I like how you snuck it into the podcast.
I did. There it goes. But you just like getting home and like last night, I just embraced Michael, and I just like whispered some words into his ear and just told him who he is, and just love being with him. And I'm like, those are the moments that's so refreshing. Dates with Jill, vacations with Jill. So refreshing. So
yeah, for sure. I will say I've done the sniffing thing now.
Mm-hmm.
With our 2-month-old son.
That's how it works.
Sometimes I sniff and I'm like, gotta change a diaper. Other times I sniff and I'm like, yep, I get it.
Yeah,
I get it.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Last question. No, 2 more questions. I'm sorry. I was missing one. What's the most helpful thing for marriage that you've learned as a husband? Easy one.
Yeah. There's a like immediately what flashed in my mind was the whole beer commercial. That it's like, stay thirsty.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But I would
Dos Equis.
Yeah, I'd replace that with like, stay curious. Just in it. Like I think that's kind of a more like surface thing, I think, in marriage, just like. But it's true, but I wouldn't say that's the most important thing. The most important thing, and I learned this from Andy Stanley, and then it's experientially true, is that there are almost no marriage issues. Like, it's hard to find a marriage issue. What I've learned about marriage is you bring you wherever you go, and the marriage issues are a result of two people bringing a whole lot of stuff outside that relationship, the marriage relationship, and now it's clashing. Now it's coming out of you. Now there's anger. Now there's jealousy. Now there's insecurity. Now there's codependence. Now there's coping. Now there's hurt and pain of the past that has nothing to do with your spouse. And so for me, the greatest thing I learned is to go, if it's not a marriage issue, then what's the issue? And looking in a mirror, and one thing led to another, and being on the other side of a counselor now for over a decade, and being on the other side of guys like you and a lot of people, and learning more about myself, asking the question, what's it like on the other side of me? Asking the question, try to empower my sons. One of the things I do with my sons all the time, I'm like, hey, I'm going to have pretty strong opinions, and there are going to be times I'm going to be pretty pissed off and passionate. So just be prepared. But that's what men do. That's what we should do at times. But I said, I always want you to have the power, and I don't want to disempower you to say, Dad, that was too much. Mm-hmm. And Dad, that was, Dad, the way you handled that, can we talk about that? And just the other day, Michael did it in the car, and I think I shared that with you or somebody. And he told me 3 things, and I was like, man, that's really fair. And I thought it was highly impressive. He's just turned 13 to be able to do that. But what he did for me is gave me a gift, and what he gave me the gift of is the parenting issue. It wasn't because Michael was doing what he was doing. Mm-hmm. The tension in the relationship was much more about what I brought into that, mm-hmm. and he reflected that to me, and that's a gift to go, okay, well, there it is. So I think in marriage, the same thing. I think the more I can bring the greatest gift I can give Jill is the healthiest version of Buck, and the most self-aware version of Buck, and the most alive version of Buck, and that's why I'd say I think that's what leads to incredible marriages.
Yeah.
Or the potential for them.
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. Last question. Mm-hmm. As a pastor, what change would you like to see for the future of the church?
I think the change I'd love to see is for the church to know the unchurched. Be as passionate as they've ever been. Not in statements, not in billboards, not in mantras, not in taglines, not in vision and mission statements, but in everyday practical life. To just Jesus was, this is what he did. He was constantly and consistently around people who were nothing like him, and he liked them, and he understood, mm-hmm. and he empathized, and he began to identify what are the central issues, which, mm-hmm. He had an advantage. He's God. But I think that went further than anything with the people, and I think that's what I'd love to see with the church is to go, if we're going to innovate, if we're going to spend money, if we're going to be creative, if we're going to start a ministry, if we're going to do whatever it is, it's because we're doing what Christ called us to do. He said, the harvest is ripe, the workers are few. He said, go and make disciples of all nations. Paul took the words of Jesus and said, be wise in the way you act towards people outside the church. Make the most of every opportunity. They're made in the image of God. Every single human being has intrinsic worth and value. I'd love to see the church actually not quote it, but believe it and mm-hmm. be it. And I think the church would get extraordinarily healthy, kind of going from the outside in that approach, with Jesus being central. But if he's central, that's exactly what he did. So I think all of our ideas, our programs, our buildings, our approaches, our words, our sermons, our music would all radically change. Yeah. Yeah. Right on. Well, Buck, thank you. Did you just say right on? Right on. Right on, man. Right on. Right on. Right on. I think that's something my dad does that I just picked up on over time. Right on. Okay. That's cool. 2022, a lot of things we just learned about you. There we go. Thank you so much for being on the bonus episode. You got it. And as if, you're not on every other episode or a lot of the episodes. Sure. But we are kicking off a new series on Sunday, January 9th, called No Regrets. Excited for that one. So we will see everybody either online or in person. All right. Thank you guys for listening.